Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. There is that undivided divinity, that one undivided essence. And yet, miraculously, this oneness is manifesting in so many different ways. Essentially, we are all the same. What a strange thing that we feel estranged so much from one another. There is so much division. Everything is an expression, a manifestation of that same divinity. Then the consciousness manifested like this starts to form a personality. The personality takes its independent and separate from everybody else. And there we create all the troubles that is being shown now in the world. And the more we are fixing our attention on that manifestation, the more we feel the division, the more we want to assert our rights, personal, different from everybody else, the more we are in trouble. It's amazing. All that would be needed is that everybody starts to turn the attention back to the essence, become aware, hey, essentially, we are all one. In manifestation, we may appear in so many different forms, in so many different ways. It's beautiful. It's wonderful that this oneness can manifest in so many different ways. We could live in harmony, being aware of the oneness and express that same oneness, each one in their own beauty, their own uniqueness, being one and many at the same time. The more we are condensing the consciousness on that manifestation and create that sense of separation, the more the world, all the other forms appear to be hostile. Hence all these problems that come. Now one friend asked me, what about family relationships? Are we obliged to continue no matter what? Do we have the freedom to withdraw? It's mainly in connection with her relationship with a brother who is not friendly, often very rude, who is on his quest to find those who are responsible for his problems and trying to pull her into it, and she's not going along with it, and he becomes very obnoxious. And she said whenever she makes contact, she feels after that drained. And she feels Such a load is there that is after that turning in her head and wonders, is it my duty to continue this? Is it my duty to look at the situation as a challenge that I have to master? Or is it possible to just take a safe distance? Actually, it doesn't really matter whether it's family or not family. Sometimes certain people are being put in our way. We simply cannot avoid them. And then it's much better to accept and have that attitude. Okay, it's a challenge, and the challenge is to master my own reactions, to learn to connect in spite of the tensions, in spite of the aggression that is there, and remain centered in our own peacefulness. That's certainly a challenge worth pursuing. Now I cannot tell you, my friend, whether you should or should not continue make contact with your brother. Feel for yourself what you really feel is right, but you're not obliged to just continue when you see it's just hopeless. Whatever is the outcome of our encounters, it's destructive. It doesn't help him. It doesn't help me. It doesn't help anybody. You have the right to withdraw and keep a distance. You don't have to fight him off. You can just withdraw a bit. And if he wants to make contact, you can tell him, okay, you can make contact if you are ready to be friendly and talk reasonably with me. Otherwise, let's just keep our safe distance. After all, we are doing that with other people. As I said, sometimes people are being put in our way. We cannot easily avoid them, but most of the time, if people are unfriendly, we can sort of take a distance and go our way around them usually. Sometimes the confrontation still comes. We don't have to do that in fear of the confrontation, but it's not that we have to push ourselves to seek out confrontations in order to learn. There are enough confrontations that come all by themselves. And if somebody keeps on being rude, keeps on being destructive, and it's clear there is not a chance that there can be anything harmonious, healing come out of it, you have the right to withdraw. If you feel in your heart that it's possible that we make contact and something may be healed, you can continue. But then if you contact him, then if he contacts you, then remind yourself to remain centered and not try to change his mind, try to change it, but be busy with yourself, observe your reactions. If you feel it's hopeless, it's just too much, doesn't bring anything good, then just take your distance. You are not obliged to continue simply because you had the same parents. We are all brothers and sisters, and still, with some people, we keep a distance because it's clear it's not helpful. It doesn't bring anything creative, beautiful to make more contact. So let's spend our time and energy with people in places where it's worth. There are still challenges everywhere, and we can learn and grow from them. If it's becoming too much, the wisest course usually is to just withdraw. And then it's sort of sorting itself out by itself, generally. So basically, you are free to choose, free to do what you feel is right, and not that you should adhere to some social customs because he is the brother. You have to go on and on and on. Get into that confrontation. Choose in freedom for yourself. Another friend wrote me 3 emails, quite extensive. But actually, it's all a bit circling around an insecurity, what to do. She's a lady already in the age of being retired, but then still has taken up a job just because of the feeling of wanting to contribute something, wanting to do something, and done that for some time and feels now, no, I don't want to continue this. And then there is immediately an offer for another similar thing, and the question is this a sign? Is this God's will? Do I have to do it? Because basically she doesn't feel like doing it. Okay, my friend, you don't have to do anything if it's not really corresponding to yourself. But what I understand from all that you have told me, you have that dilemma, that fear that your decisions coming out of ego decision and are not God's will. Somewhere on the way you have picked up that notion, because you have also written to me there was a period in your life where there was also a lot of sitting and everything went smoothly and you didn't have that dilemma. Things just took their course and fell in place. And it was not always a question, is it right, is it wrong, is it my ego, is it God's will? Somewhere on the way you have picked up that notion of having to be afraid that what I'm doing is not God's will, but it's my own ego that decides. Loosen up that fear. God's will is also that the consciousness manifest has its own freedom, its own creativity. And I recommend you, as you don't have any social duties, kids long grown up and having their own family. So do that which you feel you like to do, because you said you want to be creative. Now, I tell you, the most creative thing that we can do is see our reactions, see where we are creating tensions, and then learn not to do that anymore. And your idea of wanting to do God's will and not your ego will is creating tension. It's basically well intentioned, but somehow it has grown to a proportion that instead of being helpful, it has become an obstacle. So let it go. Don't hold on to that thing. Just feel for yourself if there are opportunities of things that you would like to do and you feel attracted to it, then do it, and don't immediately handicap it by thinking maybe it's only my ego that wants that. It's coming from you as a clear feeling, then you have the right to do so. It's nice to be creatively active, but as I said, the creativity is mainly in yourself. It's the most creative action to see where we are creating tension and disharmony and learn to let that go. That is making our own life more light, more expansive, and of course, it's influencing all those around. We are all connected. It goes in a collective consciousness, and everybody who is removing the tensions and the disharmonies is contributing something very precious to the collective consciousness. So you don't have to be externally creative, active to be creative. It's good to remember that. And then in your day-to-day life, if there are things that come along that you feel, oh, I would like to do that, I would like to express myself in that way, then by all means do them. And if on top of that you can earn a few dollars with it, fine. Stop handicapping you with that fear of doing not God's will but my own ego will. Somewhere you have previous in that period you described, you simply didn't have that notion. And now it seems there and seems to be a troublemaker. And you can loosen up that notion. It's also then based on the fear that I'm making mistakes. I'm not perfect. But we are here to live, to learn. And even if we are doing things of which we later think they were not so fortunate, then we don't have to call it a mistake, but we did something and became wiser for the experience and can go ahead with that. It simply becomes a mistake if we keep on repeating the same thing and we know it's causing pain, it's not helping, it's not helping to be more expansive or harmonious. If we, in spite of knowing that, repeat it, then we can call it a mistake. But don't be afraid of not doing the right thing. Most of the time, it's not so important what we are doing exactly. It's much more important whether we are doing it from our heart, whether we are doing it and while doing it, connect and make it in an experience that is expansive, that helps the growth of experience, which is the best for ourselves and the best for the collective. It may often manifest externally in creative activities, but you don't have to have it there as an idea. It's your duty to spend the rest of your life in some creative activities. They come along, you pick them up, you do them. You can develop more that sense of playfulness. And especially in your situation. Now you are basically free to direct the show the way you like it. Your social ties are not more so strong. You have no direct, immediate, strong duties to perform. So just do that which you like to do. Of course, if there come ID and you immediately understand, oh, this is no good, this doesn't help me, doesn't help anybody else, it just creates trouble, then you can dismiss it. Okay, this is the personality out of old habit, some silly ID came and it's no good, but don't be afraid of what you're doing. It's maybe not God's will, but my ego will. God is happy if you live your life happily. Don't take it so serious. More with a playful note in it, and then suddenly it's not more so difficult. And then if people come after you, whether you would do this and would do that, then feel for yourself. And if you feel, yes, it's right in this moment to do that, then go for it. And if you feel, no, it is not on my program, then you have the freedom to tell them, no, sorry, you have to find somebody else. The more you are in harmony with yourself, the more you are in harmony with God. So it's not a contradiction to do that which you like to do, which you feel is a genuine expression of myself and God's will. Don't hold on to that notion, there is the ego will, there is God's will, and I have to be always careful not to go for my ego stuff. I have to do God's will. If you playfully, joyously live your life, do what you like, that is not harming anybody, but is bringing something joyful in the world, then you are in harmony with God's will. You don't have to handicap yourself with doubts about that. All right. I'm leaving the subject and I'm asking you, my friends here, is there anybody who would like to come in and say something? You are welcome.
Hi, Werner.
Hello, Ravi.
Hello. I'm just going to make the screen bigger. You can see me.
Yes.
And I'm going to charge my phone again because it's okay. Great. I'm back. So I reported to you last week that I found it hard to connect, and I was struggling with not being able to connect. And it was really nice because after your talk the next day, as I took a breath in to connect, and you know, I connect in different ways. It's sometimes I'll just take one or two or three breaths, and as I breathed in the first time, as I was breathing out, the thoughts came into my mind of it's not working, I'm not feeling it, I'm not feeling it's too difficult, and then the emotions that came along with that. And I realized that that's exactly what had been going on for me in the last, 1 or 2 weeks. I mean, there were times where I was connecting, but I was going through a period of connecting less. And I thought about, it was really nice to see that thought pattern because, taking in what you said you were talking about on that day, and just to realize it's just the thoughts, it's not who I am. So I don't need to believe them. And so anyway, after seeing that, it was so much easier to connect. Thank you. I just thought I'd say that because it really is, it's a relief to be able to see one's thoughts and not to realize that that's who we are, and the thoughts in themselves created the separation. but I was never really separated in the first place, so I didn't need to believe the thoughts. So thank you.
Very good. Nice to hear.
So my question is, I've got friends who who you know they'll do a meditation course and they'll get so much out of it, and then but they won't and they'll do it for a little period, but then they won't continue for a long period. They'll stop. And I know they always think, oh, you know, it would be fantastic to do it, but they never do it. Or they might do it once or twice and then stop. And I think we're all like that in some way. It may not be with our meditation practice, but generally with regards to connecting. So why, if we have this incredible jewel and we know it at the time, we know it gives us all, it's like coming back home, especially with the people doing a meditation practice and then stopping, but it's in general for all of us. Why don't we?
It's a miracle, huh? Yeah. Why don't we? Because of the Maya, because of the illusion we grew up, and then we identified with that role that we are playing in this dream so strongly that we have completely forgotten what is to exist natural, what it is to exist naturally. And that the identification has become so strong that everything that then after that goes out of the that goes out of the normal way of experience, then it becomes frightening. Something is holding us back because we are leaving our comfort zone. Our comfort zone may be not comfortable, but it's so cozy and familiar. And the habit doesn't easily give up. So every time then somebody really turns the attention away from that and comes back to the source, it's like you're leaving that little cozy haven. That cozy place may be most of the time very painful, but still one feels a certain security because it's familiar. And then coming out of the familiar is, on one hand, of course, a great relief, but on the other hand, on the mental level, it seems to be scary because it goes into the unknown, and the mind is always holding on to the past, to the known, and is a bit scared of the unknown. So the habit comes in and kicks us away from it, although it should be the most natural thing, becoming aware, oh, it's such a relief to leave that stuff behind. Then one aspect is scared of it and creates arguments and creates feeling that, oh, I don't feel like doing, oh, that doesn't bring anything, it's not exciting enough, whatever, to prevent us from doing so. That Maya is so strong and it's around the world and it's so easy to join the general mental stream. So we don't have to fight only against our own habits, but the pull of the common consciousness of humanity to just stick it out in the same stream. The life is, after all, bearable. It's not very interesting. It's very small-minded, but somehow the stream is so strong that if we are not careful, it just pulls us into it all the time. So we have to be courageous and alert and see, there it comes again. I'm not giving way.
Okay, thank you.
Shall we leave it at that?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Wish you well. Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come? You're welcome.
Hello.
Hello, Leora.
Hi. I wanted to relate to what you said about family relationship.
Yeah.
And also it's connected to something I wanted to mention in the meeting last time about being lied to. As recently I feel that actually I feel also it's connected with of course what's going on in Israel now, but altogether became aware that we were lied to as children, as specifically how we grew up on the kibbutz. But I'm not sure because this is the only place where I grew up, and we didn't have much contact with our parents actually, so it was rather awkward. But they thought that the basic lie is that what they've chosen to the system they've chosen to bring up the children was supposed to be positive and good or supportive, or and it was a disaster for me anyway. So this feeling of being lied to, and I feel it all around. Just to say that I'm so happy I'm now aware of that, but it's a habit. It's a social habit. I don't want to go into it, but we seem to lie to each other sometimes, more sometimes or less sometimes. But I'm trying not to, but I'm sure I also do that. So for me, in my family, I have 3 sisters who are older than me, 7 years, 10 years, and 20 years, much older than me. So not only that I saw my parents only for like 2 hours a day, but my sisters I didn't see. I mean, they weren't home when I was there. They're already older and they did what they did. I don't know. So we didn't really have a family life. And my mother also didn't function very well. She was not happy, I would say, gently. And so, but my mother used to say all the time, family you don't choose. I don't know if in your culture you have this sentence, family you don't choose. You're born into a family, you this is it. So you can't make up your own decisions about it.
Yeah.
So now when I grew up, and not so much long ago, I started feeling so sure of myself for not wanting to be part of this family. My parents already died, but we just didn't have a normal family. So too much efforts and too much complications and suffering and sadness. And so I became very sure, very confident about, as sad as it is, I still have 3 sisters now. I mean, they're still alive. As sad as it is, I can take my own decision. I just don't want to be in these relationships. Even now when I say it, it is still painful, but the other way was demanding too much energy, and it was messy, always messy. So just wanted to share it, and yeah. And one more thing from yesterday, which is also, if you have anything to say, fine. About
Shall
what
I
they
say
said.
something? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Basically, whatever I have said to my other friend who wrote about family relationship applies here also. We are not specially culturally, they may say so. Like your mother said, family is family. You have no chosen, so it's your duty to stay with it and stick it out. But I mean, we are all a big family as humanity, and so you can say that for everybody. And you still can choose what kind of contacts you are making and what kinds of contacts that you are not making. And you naturally, the more you are conscious, the more you will choose contacts that are helpful to become more expansive, and not contacts that just remain in that little bubble and just create struggles on and repeating themselves endlessly for no reason. So
Yeah.
I think you have the full right to choose whether or not you want to make contact with those other people who incidentally had the same parents.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah. So I wanted to share something from yesterday. I went to Jerusalem, or to a settlement next to Jerusalem, joining the parade that that is going on now from the center up to Jerusalem. And there was one part that we had to walk. We couldn't go up all the way up with the car. So we were actually blocking the way for the people who are living in those two settlements there.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming with the car,
Mm-hmm.
and the road was blocked. So there was a man who was pressing the, how do you call it? Yeah, you know, when you make noise with the car, with the finger of the car. Forgot
Yeah,
the
the
name.
horn. The horn.
The horn, yeah.
Yeah.
So I went to him and I don't know why I did it, but I went I didn't really understand why he actually did it. Obviously, he was angry, but for some reason I went with my hands to him like, what do you want? Why are you doing it? I didn't say anything. So he opened the windows and he started shouting at us. He was really upset, and he was right. Because he came back from a funeral and he wanted to go back home to his children or grandchildren.
Yeah.
So I really felt sorry for him. So I went like that with my hands and I said, I really apologize. Yeah, I understand you and you're right. So my friend said to me, why were you so afraid of him? And I said, no, I wasn't afraid of him. I really understood his anger.
Yeah.
And his position. It is so annoying that you want to go back home after a funeral. And anyway, you want to go back home. You have your schedule. So yeah, I just felt so good with myself that I was free to react naturally from my heart, without opinions and without, now in Israel, it's like a boxing competition. You really have to be aware and to be careful not to annoy people, and they don't annoy you. It's very stressful.
Yeah.
So just wanted to share this, how, just like God is in the small things like this. There's a book, an
Yeah.
Indian book.
And
God is in the small things.
and he responded to the situation.
Yeah, I don't think he heard that I was apologizing to him. I don't think he noticed that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
because as you always say, it's radiates somehow. It radiates, and it was good energy. So it doesn't matter, as you also say, self, self, self. It's not me anyway. It's through me.
Yeah. Right.
So it was great. It was really, really wonderful experience.
Right. It's nice to see that one is not swept away by old habitual reactions, but can choose creatively, spontaneously in the moment, isn't it?
It's not that I don't feel that I chose it. It was like spontaneous, yes.
Yes, that's the same.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's this is the fruiting of the practice, really.
Mm. Yes. Nice.
Fruiting of the practice.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Hari Om.
Carry on.
Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? There are little fruit flies. They are going after my eyes. I think I have caught one in my eye. Okay. How many people are here? 16. Anybody would like to come in to say something?
Hi, Werner.
Hello, Andreas.
Um, is it accidental that we have our parents, or is some kind of karma involved in that?
I think it's not just a total accident, right? Somehow we are being attracted not necessarily to that they are very similar as us, but to a place in a situation where we can learn the lessons that we come for to learn. Sometimes we are attracted to a very harmonious situation because that's how we can evolve best. But sometimes we are maybe attracted to a very difficult situation with in a difficult family because we come to confront that and learn to somehow grow out of that. I don't think it's simply accidental. No.
So how does the choosing happen?
How does the choosing happen? I mean, there may be so many different ways. I cannot, I cannot tell you now how you have exactly chosen to become Andreas and grow up in the family where you grew up. But you, the being, is not incarnating but projecting an aspect of itself. And from that being, it's already clear many things, how the setup will be and what kind of lessons are to be learned. Then unfortunately, when the consciousness comes to this world, there is a lot of forgetting. And we are not more aware of that and just feel helplessly put into a situation that we are not necessarily understanding.
I mean, in psychology, I mean, sometimes I have clients that had very bad parents.
Yeah.
Beat them up and they didn't care at all about them, or even like humiliated them.
Yeah.
Verbally. And then there's always a tendency to blame the parents for the troubles that the clients have. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's no question that in such a situation, the parents have contributed to the fact that now the person has mental difficulties. But the, the mistake that then people have the tendency to make, and often also psychology, is to just hook onto that, blaming the parents and forgetting, okay, the parents have contributed, but that was then, and now is now, and now we have to find a solution to get out of it. And hanging on, blaming others and making others responsible doesn't help anything. It's okay, they set up the stage, and I invariably developed certain traits. But now, at that time, I didn't see it, but now is the time to see it. And now I have to take the responsibility myself, not to continue with it. Otherwise, we can continue till the end of the life and say, I'm so like this and like this because the parents did that to me. And it doesn't help anyone then to keep on blaming the parents and making it an excuse for the person not to take the responsibility.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm trying to get people out of the victim mode, but sometimes it's helpful that they understand that it's, yeah, I mean, that their behavior is very much influenced by the aggression and the putting down of the person.
No doubt about that. To understand, okay, if they have done like this, the situation was like that, and it's understandable that some trouble comes out of it, can be very helpful, but then not emotionally hook onto that and keep in the victim mode. I'm like this because of that. Okay, I can understand that this has developed like this, but now it's time to take responsibility to get out of it.
Yeah, that's sometimes the difficult part.
That's the difficult part, right?
But can you, I mean, can you say that they have chosen these kinds of parents too?
You can say that that being has projected in such a situation because they wanted to have that experience of growing out of a difficult situation. Whether after that they succeed in the human form or not is maybe not sure, but the possibility is there that if you are in a born into a very difficult situation that creates a lot of trouble, that if somebody after that has the courage to take the responsibility and work themselves out of it, then they are gaining in the long run something very great, something very precious and beautiful, and they come out much stronger having gone through the experience, but only if they really take themselves in the hand and grow out of it.
I mean, is it some kind of choosing, or are they attracted by some kind of energy that is familiar to them?
Well, the two are basically a bit the same thing.
Yeah, but I mean, the clients react very differently. If you tell, I mean, if I would never do it, but I mean, if you would tell them that they have chosen that themselves,
Oh,
it would be
they will throw stones at you. Don't tell them. That's no use of telling them like this. But you can tell them, okay, now the situation is as it is. It's maybe a terrible situation, you're right, but it doesn't help to hang on to that aspect. And then now you have the opportunity to see it, to see where it came from, and have the courage and make the effort to grow out of it. And then that maybe certain patients may be open for that and ready to hear it, that if they are capable of growing out of such a difficult situation, it brings them a lot. They come that much stronger out of it. But of course, you cannot tell that to everybody.
Yeah, yes, I thought, yeah. Because sometimes you can see that, like, children of alcoholics,
Yes.
a lot of time get dependent themselves.
Yeah, right. The tendency is there strongly, yeah. But even if the tendency is there, if they are ready, then we can give a helping hand that they are encouraged to work themselves out of it. After all, you cannot do it for them, but if they are ready to do it, then you may help them to guide them a bit through the worst.
And how does that all relate? I mean, to the poverty in India. Like, is it? I mean, is it just a learning opportunity for the poor people there too?
You
and all the suffering that comes with it.
Right, you can say so. Apart from that, we have grown up with that idea how terrible it is that the life of the poor Indians, it's not such a poverty now. I mean, after the COVID, it's again worse than before. But basically, India has quite developed, and there's a very strong middle class has developed until it has been crushed a bit by the lockdowns and stuff, but it's very much in the coming. India is not as poor as we have it in mind, as we were told. And I have seen poor people who have very little, and it's not just suffering. They have also less wants. Now, of course, even the poor people, they have handies and they see all the possibilities, and then the wants are also coming, and then they feel very terrible and poor. But before that, it wasn't so bad. I remember, for example, there to Ramana's time, one Westerner said, but to Ramana, but after all, India is a very backward country. And Ramana said, yes, you're right. We are a backward country, but there are also less wants. Look at the goat herder there, the man who is just the whole day looking after a bunch of goats. He walks with them up the mountain and looks after them. Then at lunchtime, settles down somewhere, sits under a tree, fills up his belly with his meal and lays down for some time and sleeps, and then he goes again with his goats, and he's perfectly happy. He's not torturing his mind with all these wants and think, oh, my life is terrible because I'm a poor man.
Yeah, okay.
We're judging things externally, but every situation gives us the possibility to connect with that precious divinity. Then your life is rich, whether you are externally poor or rich. And if you are not doing that, then your life is poor, even if you have loads of money.
Yeah, okay.
But right, basically, I do think that people are the manifestations of beings who have somehow directed an aspect in a certain situation, knowing somewhat what the conditions are going to be like, because having that wish to learn in such and such a situation, to grow, to expand in such and such a situation. If after that the manifestation is up to it and capable of doing so, that is always something that is in the balance, and depends whether that courage is developing in the manifested human.
So that's the difference towards like a traditional Indian view, where they say like it's just their karma to be born in that case, and yeah, we don't need to have any compassion with them.
Yeah, I don't use that karma explanation because it has always the flavor of punishment in it. That they have been doing bad things in their last life, that's why they are punished and are born poor. No. That punishment is a totally human idea. It has nothing to do with God. It's that being who is going for that experience. And in that sense, you can say it's the karma, but not in the sense of a punishing law that we are being kicked in the bum because we have done something bad.
Yeah, that going for that experience is very similar to Buddhism, where they say karma is something active that you, yeah, you do in a way.
The self, your being, is interested in getting richer, essentially remaining the same, but the experience of it is getting richer and expanding, and may go for all kinds of experiences, not only pleasant experiences. And the more we are capable in unpleasant, in difficult situations to learn to connect with that which is always there, that our well-being is not dependent on the situation, the more powerful will the experience, will be the lifetime.
Okay.
Shall we leave it?
Yes, or I could put another question which is related but not closely.
Yeah, you are welcome.
But I could wait if somebody
No,
else wanted to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Why did Ramana have to continue to meditate?
Why did Ramana had to continue to meditate? He didn't have to, and yet he did. And in doing so, he did an enormous service also to the collective. If a being like Ramana just sits like this, it's like he is harnessing loads and loads of power that are like being pulled on this level. That being who is doing that is the first to benefit from it. But then the whole humanity, the whole creation will benefit of it. You can say Ramana, after all, if you look his external life, he hasn't done anything. There are other teachers that they are active doing so many things. And Ramana, he just came and he didn't do a damn thing. And yet, just by being here, a giant from like Ramana, who simply sits there, is just harnessing something so precious that is radiating out on this level, that people who came in contact with it just were totally benefited by it, and people still are being benefited by it. Self-inquiry is not something that Ramana has created. It's something that you find in text. It's a very old approach, but it was like a hidden footpath before. And that powerful life of Ramana has made out of that hidden footpath and highway. Now so many people can connect with that, have access to it, and even now, how many years? 70, more than 70 years after he left his body, people all over the world are still inspired and getting inspired by Ramana Maharshi. And the part of it is exactly because he kept on sitting like this, because he harnessed all that power. He could have been somewhere in the hidden and living his life happily in harmony with the divine. But instead of that, he came and sat like a rock, like Arunachala, and became a source of power that people are still benefiting from.
Is some of his energy especially present in the ashram, still in like the small meditation room?
It's certainly there, partly because people come and open up to Ramana. But wherever you are in the world, if you open up to Ramana Maharshi, that energy also will be there.
Even in Germany?
Even in Germany, in good old Germany.
Okay.
Okay. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. I see somebody is there. Hello?
Hey, it's Kirsten.
Ah, now I see you big. Hello, Kirsten.
Hello. It's so inspiring to hear you talk about Ramana. Yeah.
He is inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah.
His every move, whatever he did, he's inspiring.
Yeah. 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 I can feel it. It's very nice. I have some dilemma. I have talked with you about it before, so it's nothing new. But every time I talk with you about it, it's shedding some light on it, and it is connected with what you were beginning to talk about, or what you talked about in the beginning about the ego and God's will, and having this kind of split idea about what is what. Mm-hmm. So I haven't been to your Satsang online for some weeks because I was in Greece, and I was teaching yoga there for 4 weeks, and it went really well. And I could also feel, I mean, it went so well that I was also getting a little bit high on how well it went, but also being aware of that. So it was okay. And now I'm back in Denmark. And I just realized, because we had our calculations back from the solicitor, that the yoga center has a big minus from last year. Mm. And that really pushes I have shared it with you before, that I feel this kind of responsibility and obligation to run the yoga center, because it's one of the oldest yoga centers in Copenhagen, and it was given to me by my first teacher. But on the other hand, I mean, my joy is really to travel and teach. Mm-hmm. So it's this dilemma about feeling some responsibility, but not only that, it was also how I never wanted to have the yoga center, but I really felt that the universe was kind of really pushing it on me, like, yes, or giving it to me or handing it over to me. Yeah. So it's not so much also a responsibility from inside, but also, yeah, feeling it's God's will to run it. So yeah, my question is not very clear, but maybe you can talk a little bit about those dilemmas.
Right. Now you have been doing that for quite a long time, huh?
With the yoga center?
Yes.
7 years, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But much longer teaching and traveling and teaching, so.
Yeah. And basically you're more drawn to traveling and teaching.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, maybe you have the right to take steps to somehow now slowly give the running of the center over. It may not be from one day to another, but you can put your feeler out, who is interested, who has the capacity, and then slowly get them into the flow of it, and then gradually give over the running of the center to them, and do that which you are more naturally drawn to. You certainly have the right. It's now not your lifelong duty that you have to do that. But it would be nice if you can do it in a harmonious way, that it smoothly goes over, that maybe another person or 2 persons or God knows continue what you have been doing.
That's the thing, because already 1 year ago I was asking 2 different persons that I thought, the thing is now what you really need is to know something about marketing to run a center like that.
Yeah.
I'm not a specialist on that. I'm very good at connecting with people and get the so-called customers, but not really. I'm not on social media very much, and so I've been talking with some people, but it's a hard time.
I think I would be totally hopeless.
Okay, then I will not ask you.
No.
Yeah. So actually, I was also talking with a woman. She's not a yoga teacher at all, but she's very big in. She has been marketing Carlsberg and big companies like that. So I have this thinking, but what is new for me is that I was also thinking maybe I should close it down, because after COVID, so many centers have closed down in Copenhagen, and a lot of people do things online now.
Yeah.
And there's a very big rent. The rent is more than 2,000 euro per month.
Yeah.
So it has to create a lot of activity to make ends meet. So that's a very big decision, because it's, I mean, maybe I can still do more, because I have only like put out like feelers, like asking specific people. I have not gone out in the public and said I wanted to give it over. But the new thing is this idea, maybe I should. It's a big responsibility to close one of the oldest centers in Copenhagen down.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to tell you no. Keep it going or close it down. It's nice, the idea that the center like this continues to exist. And if you could find the people who can keep it going, that it can at all exist, it would be nice. But if it's getting just too much for you, then at a certain point you have also the right to say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do it anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to find a good marketing person.
Yeah. Yes.
But then hopefully, even if it's a person who has nothing directly to do with yoga, it would be nice if the person still has an affinity to it and has a feel for it, not simply
Absolutely.
can think of marketing only.
Yeah.
To keep the spirit alive.
Absolutely. Yeah. This, I mean, it's a new thing to think that it doesn't have to be a yoga teacher. It just came to me. I was standing in the airport with this woman. She has been doing a lot of retreats with me, and so it was also a new thing to ask her, and she was a little bit open to it. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah,
Yes.
but it's so nice to talk with you about it.
Wish you well with it.
Thank you, Werner. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hello.
Hello, Werner. Hello.
Hello. Right.
Yes. So today you talked about this God's will and ego will.
Yes.
So how to discriminate between them, and what is it? Because both of them are just thoughts where we put different labels. We name one like that is God will, and the other one would be ego for some reasons, maybe of vasanas or karma, what we did actions in the past, and what is difference and how to discriminate.
I mean, if you don't have that concept in your mind, you don't have to create it and put it in your mind. And rather just look at yourself when you want to do something, then you feel your motivation. Is it really coming from your heart? Is it something that you as a being want to express yourself by doing so? Or is it just something that me, old habitual personality, wants to squeeze out some personal benefit from it? The difference is, if you want to say as a rule of thumb, that one is contracting consciousness and the other is helping consciousness to expand.
So all feelings like which come with fear and this when you feel inferiority, so that means it's contraction.
Yes, right.
but there's some thoughts which comes, for example, from the vasanas, what you want to do and repeat it again because you are accustomed to it, or it gives pleasure, but then you have different thought that's maybe not good for you, and then you have a conflict.
Yes.
But you're still attracted to doing these things again and again.
Right. Because the habit has its power, and if we had some kicks out of it, then somehow the desire is there to have that kick again. But if at the same time you come to the conclusion, actually, it's not good for me, then you can decide, okay, I'm not doing it, but then maybe the habit pushes me to do it in spite of that. And then you can also accept, okay, I'm doing it, but I'm doing it very consciously, that I'm observing all along what is happening instead of just suppressing it and saying, no, no, I can't do it. If the desire is too strong to repeat it, then do it, but do it with the intention to be very conscious and very observative. And then automatically, if it is something that is somewhere hurting you, there gradually you will lose the desire to repeat it again, because you become more aware, okay, I may get a momentary kick out of it, but actually I'm paying much too big a price for it.
Yeah. Those desires, they are also thoughts, and sometimes you can think that the desire is the same as God's will, or you label it just you're doing and continue doing because it's given you. The thoughts come from outside and you make action on them, and then there's someone who evaluates, was it good or was it bad? Like split personality, two personalities, one is like, I mean duality, and then they are discussing with each other, shall I do it or not?
Right. Well, you can, in a way, not so much hold on to good or bad, but anything that is helping to be rather harmonious. And in that harmonious state and relaxed state, consciousness is expansive. Then that is what is usually called good. And anything that is contracting the consciousnness creates pain. And that is not favorable to do. There's a monkey on the tree that is irritating the dog. He has been making. Hey, you disturbing the satsang. And it has nothing to do with morals. So we don't have to go into the tradition and look the whole register, what is labeled good and what is labeled bad, and then try to be a good boy, that we do the good things.
Yeah.
But something that you feel it's good because it feels natural. It feels you are in the flow with life. You are in the flow with things, and consciousness is rather expensive. Then by all means, that is the right thing to do. And if you do it, and at the same time something is always deep down nagging, and it's creating pain. Sooner or later, it's creating pain for myself or others, and this is against the natural flow of life. Then you can learn to avoid that.
Okay.
And then you can call it ego will or God's will, or you don't need to pick up those concepts at all. Do that which makes you more yourself, makes you more naturally yourself. And yourself, you are joyous, expansive. And that which is hurting, that we can learn to avoid.
So basically, it's based on discrimination of good feeling, right?
Yes.
If
feeling, and even more profound, because we don't have a better word, feeling and intuition, we can say. Right. I mean, we can think about things rationally and discriminate. This feels right, this feels wrong. But then listen more to the profound feeling that really somehow everybody has, but we have learned not to listen to it. So we have to decide to open up to that, to listen to that, that somehow from deep down we feel whether it's something is really going in the lightful direction or is rather creating trouble.
But for me, sometimes I feel that it's this feeling, it's good, but then this tendency to find like explanation in thoughts, mental explanation, why it should be done. And then it's a struggle if I do not find why it's good explanation, then usually it can be dropped, but not followed.
Yeah, but if there is a conflict like this between the rational, not finding a good reason for it, but having a real feeling, it feels good, then you are well advised to learn to listen to your feeling.
Yes, that's quite difficult.
Because as long as we are rational, we think we are on top of it, we are in control, we understand. But actually, it's an illusion. We understand very little. We control very little. But it gives the feeling, and it's illusory. And if there is a conflict between rationally saying, but what's the point in it? But deep down you feel, yes, then you can learn to listen to that more.
To go without explanation.
Without explanation.
Okay.
Jump into the unknown.
Good.
Yes.
Okay.
It needs courage. Right. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hario.
Hario.
Hario. There's still some more time if somebody would like to come in. You're welcome.
Yeah, I would like to ask something in relation to what Andreas spoke about diseases or health conditions. Some people say you've chosen it. Yeah. Do you have any opinion about this? Can we actually choose to have a health condition like serious or disease, like serious disease, maybe life-threatening?
It's possible that we have chosen such a thing, but people have to be careful if they after that say this to others. It's usually in a judgmental way, and that absolutely there is no justification for that. But that being before incarnation may have chosen certain main points in the story, not all the details, but certain main points, and it may also be amongst the program that one has to go through very serious health problems. That if we learn, if we are capable of going to that in the right spirit, that we learn in spite of physical, energetic difficulties to connect and become aware that there is that essence that is not affected by it, then that experience may be very powerful and bring something enormous. So that is possible that a being is choosing such a thing, but there is absolutely no reason then after that to think if somebody is sick, oh, they choose it by themselves and then they can take care of themselves.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you when you said something connected. If it's in the program,
yeah,
of course we don't know it, but some people do very much to prevent maybe we don't know the program, of course, but
yes,
of course we can get sick and things can happen to us. And some people like use a lot of energy and time to prevent anything that may happen to them.
yeah.
But and you said like you can still get sick, but if you're connected, then as you said, you can learn so much from it, and hopefully you can get through it and stay alive and relatively okay. What I'm trying to say is actually to ask is, can we put so and so energy, whatever it means, to take plants and stuff like herbs to prevent
There's
or physical like practice or whatever. Yeah.
yes. I mean, there is nothing wrong with taking reasonable steps to keep yourself healthy. But not out of fear that oh, something could happen, because there we are actually this in itself is a disease, that fear that something could happen.
Yeah.
But if you have the possibility to keep your body healthy with some exercises and taking reasonable food, and then maybe have some herbal supplements, there's absolutely nothing wrong. But you do that in a good spirit, not I do it that nothing can happen to me, simply because it's there, it's easily available, and it makes sense. It's common sense to do so.
Yeah, so nowadays the science, the medicine, they know so much. And like they tell you, if the blood tests show that you have high cholesterol or high whatever, or low whatever, then you're bound to have a heart attack or stroke or so on. So you should take medication. And medications have side effects, of course.
Yes, right.
So again, I wonder, because for myself, I took a decision. I'm not going to take all this medication. If I should have a heart attack,
so be it.
yeah, or I mean, no, I don't want to have a heart attack, but I feel that part of me really resists to all the this kind of policy.
Right. And if you
they
feel
only know so much, they only know so much. They're great. Doctors are great. I like them. I mean, they do what they have to do. They're great, but they can also only do so much.
But it's your life.
Yeah.
The person who is in that situation, it's their life. So they have the right to choose. And if that person feels profoundly, in spite of the doctor saying you have this and this condition, so you have to take now every day for the rest of your life this kind of medicine, and there is a clear, profound no from inside, then you have the right to decide to do that.
Yeah, of course I have the right, but like sometimes there is fear. Maybe they do know I should do what they tell me. I mean, and I know they don't. I mean, Of course, we don't know. We can do anything, and then we can get sick. We can do nothing, eat everything, and blah blah, and remain very healthy. I mean, we really don't know.
Right. And you can have more and more confidence in your own healing capacity. That
Okay.
you are whole in your being. And then instead of relying too much on medicines, rely more and more in your own healing capacity. And if after that maybe a heart attack is there, there is absolutely no certainty that that heart attack wouldn't have come having taken all this medicine, and maybe you would have suffered on top of that a lot of side effects that you don't suffer.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So if somebody in the situation is being told to take it and feels, yes, I take it, then it's right to take it. But if you have a clear feeling that no, then you're better advised to follow that. And develop the confidence that after all, your being is not affected. Your being is whole. And the more you connect, that beneficial beingness can also flow on this material level. And it may do more good than the medicine.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And certain things may be simply there in the story that will happen no matter what you are doing. And that it had been already sort of put there as one of the landmarks in the story, and then it will happen. And how we are then dealing in the situation and learning to just take up with it, and in spite of that connect with reality, then that will be very different how much we are getting out of it. And if that is decided like this, you can do all you want to prevent it, and it will still happen. But if that possibility is to prevent something, it can be prevented, like with the stuff that the doctors say, but not for sure. It can also be prevented in very different ways, with natural medicine, or by simply learning to be more in tune with your indestructible being.
Yeah. I'm so grateful that you keep reminding us this every time we get together here. It's so very helpful. Yeah.
We are just temporary here. It's a temporary learning experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
I think we have touched enough different subjects for today. And we are ending the satsang with this. I wish you all well. Never forget, we are just here temporary. It's a learning experience. The indestructible self is there. Temporary, we are appearing in this human story, going through all this. It's good to remember in good times, and also in times when we are facing difficulties like diseases. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.